Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Baldwin number 5098.004.N. This is a dummy spindle backplate, 7/8 of an inch. It's probably the spindle length. This is what it looks like. This is a half dummy or a single dummy piece of equipment. I have installed plenty of these. Baldwin hardware is exceptional, very incredibly high quality fit and finish. There's no doubt about that. The downside of Baldwin, there's no downside of Baldwin except if you try to approach it and list all of the pieces and parts that you need, it can be quite intimidating. It's an investment in time to learn their part number scheme well enough. And frankly, the way to really become proficient with Baldwin part numbers is through the process of installing it. So the upside of Baldwin is you can have exactly what you want. Lots of pieces and parts that you can pull together to mix them for your requirements. The downside of all of that, you've got to know all the part numbers, the pieces and the part numbers to mix it all together to get what you want. So if you ordered a knob and a rosette and, okay, it's a half dummy or a single dummy, well, if you don't order the mounting hardware, you won't get enough material to do the job. There are installation instructions listed down below this video, and they're here. At the desired location, bore hole 5/8 of an inch diameter and 1/4 inch deep. Place base plate projection into the bored hole. So they're talking about the back side of this. A Forstner bit might be an excellent way to go about doing that. You'll get a very clean prep that will be flat bottomed. You won't have any concern about over drilling that, over boring it. They say 5/8. The diameter of that projection is 0.625. Yeah, 0.6. I mean, that's exactly 5/8. That's going to fit in there quite snugly, that's for sure. They say 1/4 inch deep, and the projection of that is 0.191, so that's good. So expect that to fit in there pretty tightly, and that you're probably going to need to get a rubber mallet and very carefully tap that in a little bit. The top is indicated on the back. Okay, so what happens is you'll get the 3 screws. There are 3 of these. You're obviously going to pre-drill those holes before they go in. To the face of the door. This is from the Estate series, and their Estate is their flagship, their top of the line. Knobs, levers, roses, all of the hardware that goes together to make tubular style passage sets, privacy sets, obviously single and full dummies, and then their mortise locks. All of the exceptionally gorgeous trim, all the lock bodies, the cylinders, the different thumb turns, emergency covers, etc. Lock sets with different back sets. And as far as I'm concerned, Baldwin is my choice, my personal choice in my home, and it is my choice to recommend to people. There are a lot of people that make very nice looking hardware. There are people that are going to make nice looking hardware that will be less expensive. There'll be Baldwin. There will be boutique people that make incredibly expensive material that's absolutely handmade for that order exactly. Baldwin is a confluence of everything that you need, I think. If it boils down to money, you're going to find less expensive options. You will, of course, be subject to, you get what you pay for, in the sense that I believe the Baldwin quality, the build quality, is superior to those less expensive options. And the inventory is generally quite deep and available for that material. What you get with this single dummy is once you drill that hole, pre-drill your holes and get it attached, you're simply going to thread your rose down onto that threaded stem, and then your trim will go over. You'll tighten that with the set screw. Your installation is done. You obviously have to be mindful of your vertical height and then your back set. You want to take an audit of the rest of the doors in the house to make sure that your back sets and your vertical heights are drilled accordingly, because this will not be prepped by your door supplier. This your installer will be doing in the field. So do an audit of the rest of the space and make sure that you are installing the material correctly. If it's a knob and you're a little bit turned aside, that's really not going to matter so much. But if you have a lever trim, you're going to want to be really, really sure that this is absolutely straight. And the reason that it's so important that they actually give you a flat bottom profile here so that you can use a square or some sort of apparatus to put on the edge of the door and then rest your dummy mount plate onto that to be sure that you're perfectly level. Okay, that needs to be level. I would use a VIX bit, VIX, or yeah, VIX. A VIX bit is a tool that is self-centering and will allow you via a spring-loaded plunger style to pre-drill that hole. The point why I like that VIX bit is because I'm not worried about my exact center, because I will be centered exactly with a VIX bit. We sell those as well. You can search our site for VIX. Get those holes drilled really straight is the bottom line. Step 3, using a square, make sure flat edge on bottom of backplate assembly is parallel to floor and perpendicular to the door edge. Mark and drill 3 screw holes, fasten screws, install rows, and your lever or knob. And that's everything on this hardware. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Baldwin products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to many of their full-line catalogs. And you're going to be looking for the catalog that has the word estate in it. I'm very partial to Baldwin for the reasons I mentioned earlier, but also because 100% of the time, every single time, I call them for technical support. And my history of Baldwin goes back 3 decades. Every time that I call them, I get a prompt, professional, and complete answer. And most of the time, it's by the person who picks up the phone. A very well-trained, competent staff that they have there. And at the end of the day, what is it that you're really buying? Just some nice polished chrome knobs? Yeah, true. But you really want to take into consideration the fact that you can pick the phone up and get technical support. A perfect example of that is a client needed to replace a mortise lock, a few decades old. Sent me pictures, needed a spring, and he had to replace the entire mortise lock because of a broken spring. Sent me pictures. I contacted Baldwin, explained to them the scenario. The gentleman that I spoke to was able to diagnose the problem, knew over the telephone by asking me questions exactly what I had, and he said to me, "Is the color blue?" Okay, great, that's from the second half of the 70s, most likely. He says, "In fact, I was working in the manufacturing plant making those locks at that time when that lock was manufactured." He was able to tell me exactly the spring that we needed, go back to the client and say, "You need a $10 spring, you don't need a $300 mortise lock." That's what I'm talking about. When you consider your lower cost options, of which there are several and many, and then you consider Baldwin, think long term, okay? If you're spending a lot of money on your hardware in your home, think long term. It's not just what it looks like day 1 or 6 months out. What is the health of that lock in 20 years? The ability to get service 20 years down the road, in my opinion, in residential hardware, Baldwin stands alone. Any questions on the Baldwin? This is their part number 5098.004.N. Dummy spindle, single dummies, or any other. And if it's a dummy set back to back, it's a different mounting material, hardware, or any other Baldwin product. Please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.